NorthAmericanSumo.com.
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Matt C. Howard, and thank you for listening to the third interview of NorthAmericanSumo.com. This week I was fortunate enough to chat with Helen Delpopolo, who is the current president of the United States Sumo Federation. She's the first female president of the USSF, and also she's the youngest ever. Helen was nice enough to give NorthAmericanSumo.com our longest interview yet. In it, she discusses the mission, goals, and recent accomplishments of the United States Sumo Federation, as well as her personal journey into sumo. This ranges from competing in Worlds at the age of 12 to being elected the president of the United States Sumo Federation. Be sure to check out the USSF's website in the links below, and please consider becoming a member of the United States Sumo Federation. Likewise, check out NorthAmericanSumo.com for more information about Helen and the USSF, and please hit the subscribe button to keep up with our future interviews and sumo content. I hope you enjoy listening to this interview, and thank you very much for listening. So how long have you been the president, and how long have you been in a leadership role in the United States Sumo Federation?
Yeah, so I became president at last year's Nationals, so I've been president for pretty much exactly a year. Thankful to serve. Leadership-wise, I was the VP for 2 years before that. And I'm one of the trustees, which I was elected last year as well. So I've been heavily involved for about 3-4 years now, back in it.
Okay, and how long does a presidential term last for the organization?
So it lasts for 2 years. If I decide, I do have the choice to rerun again, to do a second term for 2 more years. But after that, I would have to definitely sit out to give someone else a try. So,
no, that makes sense. So what does the United States Sumo Federation do? What, as an organizing body, does it do, and what are the ultimate goals and objectives of it?
Yeah, so our day-to-day is we have a lot of conference calls, keep in touch with each other about constantly altering, adding new bylaws as the times change. The thing I wanted to focus on was getting more funds in for our athletes, which we've done a really good job this year. We've raised more money this year than ever have before, so we're really excited about that. Long-term goals, of course, is to help it become an Olympic event. Thankfully, we just became recognized by the International Olympic Committee as an Olympic sport.
Oh, interesting.
So we're just not an event yet. A lot of people ask me, like, what's the difference? But there's a huge difference regarding whether or not our athletes become Olympians. So we're recognized by them. They realize full-blown sport. And what a lot of people don't realize is they recognize a few every so often. So I believe, like, Sambo just became recognized, but I believe they were recognized on a probationary period to see how it does. We just got full recognized. So we're not on probation. We've proved ourselves enough, which is great. That's what stems from coming of the new weight classes. That was to kind of fill requests of IOC to make it so more people can participate. That's what mainly I focus on. That's what a lot of my trustees, officers focus on, is getting funds in for the athletes. Because, it's not cheap to be able to meet together. Unfortunately, sumo is not in every state yet. So in order to get our athletes to be able to come together and train, we need to raise money for them so they have funds, as well as going to the World Championships can be quite expensive. So we work on that as well. Some of the changes we've done was giving a bigger stipend than usual this year. We were able to, the first time, send our athletes in uniforms, which the Federation was able to pay for. So that was a really good feeling because, we really looked like a team there this year. And so I just basically contact sponsors. I contact people all the time, hand out my business card. And, people are so shocked to hear that sumo is even in the United States. They're even more shocked to hear that I'm a sumo wrestler because they expect the stigma of like a 450-pound man. Usually my first question is, don't you have to be fat to do that? And the second question is, do you wear a shirt under the diaper? And I'm like, it's a mawashi, but yes, for everyone's safety, I do wear a shirt. So yeah, just try to spread the word. We're also focusing on the youth. We really want to get the youth involved. A lot of our wrestlers are getting older now. We have some new blood into the federation, which I absolutely love. But I really want to start getting the younger people involved. Like, I was 12 when I started, and even though I left for a little while, I came back. So we're focusing on that. We're focusing on women getting into the sport more. We have way more women than we've had in the past. And just explaining to people that sumo can be a sport for anybody. People necessarily who are bigger may not feel comfortable getting on a track, may not feel comfortable jumping in the pool. So I try to educate people on how this is a sport truly for anyone. Even if you have asthma, something that's debilitating, like you can't really do football or basketball too well with asthma, and I can't promise you're not going to be exhausted after the match because it's brutal, but I firmly believe anyone has the capability to give all they have for 20 seconds, and that would be a long match,
Oh, yeah. No, that makes sense. So what do you think is the most effective or the most important way to spread sumo to these new areas that don't currently have sumo?
The fact that we have more clubs than ever is like the huge point for me, because we've always had wrestlers all over the country, but there hasn't really been a lot of clubs. So now that we've got clubs in Georgia, in Louisiana, in Idaho, in New Jersey, in California, like, that's great, because now, for so many years, people would reach out to us and say, I'm interested in doing sumo. And we would, of course, have them reach out to the nearest person to them. But a lot of times it may have just been one guy doing it or two guys doing it, and it kind of turned people off. Now the fact that we can say there's a club that's, it might be 45 minutes away from you, but they hold practices twice a week, I think that's really helping gaining more numbers. And then, like I said, just getting the word out. Like, when I became president, there's a lot of promises I made to a lot of people, with regards to my athletes and putting their faith in me to get elected. But, one of the promises I've never really shared with anyone was a promise to myself that I was going to at least reach out to, one company every single day. So I have an email. It's a standard email that I send out every single day to at least one person, whether it's someone who I see has donated quite a bit of money to other sports, whether it's a company. And, so I can say I've sent out probably short of family emergencies or my own medical problems, I've probably sent out 350 emails. And, most of them don't stick, and it's hard day in and day out because you get discouraged because it's not working. But then you get that one response, and it makes it all worth it. Like this year, our biggest response was from the Women's Sports Foundation. Mm-hmm. So that is the founder of it, I should say, is Billie Jean King. Everyone knows who she is. Battle of the Sexes, of course. And she's still involved in it, but there's the new president is Alana Myers-Taylor, who is the Olympic silver medalist for bobsledding. So I actually, my mom volunteered for them it has to be way longer. I was probably 8 years old. So you're talking 16 years ago, my mom volunteered for this dinner. And of course I tagged along, and I ran around all the expensive dinner tables, and I ran into stars that I didn't even know who they were. I only remember meeting Billie Jean King and Lisa Leslie at the time. And, of course, I was 7, so I wanted to be cool, so I had my mom's name tag on. And I said, Miss Leslie, can I have your autograph, please? You're awesome. And she was like, absolutely, no problem. And, a 7-year-old, you don't think about the fact that you should tell them your name, or, how did this exchange just happen without me saying your name, with me getting an autograph? So my mom ended up having 2 lovely autographs from Billie Jean King and Lisa Leslie. So I'm still mad about that. But yeah, I was, I went to that. One of my judo coaches, Rusty Kanikogi, was good friends with Billie Jean King. They have a fund in her honor for judo women. So when I became president, my biggest fan and my biggest supporter to this day is my mother. I owe everything I've done in life to her. she started reaching out to everyone, like, Helen became the first female president of the federation, like, and, I think she sent the Women's Sports Foundation, like, 10 emails and phone calls, and they finally called me, and they're like, hey, your mom's really persistent. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they told me the story, and they're like, but we had no idea. We're so happy she called. You seem awesome. Like, let's get to know each other. So I did a demonstration in New York City at, it was something called Fit Fest on Long Beach for the Women's Sports Foundation. It was really cool. We had a lot of people watching. Me and Ed, my VP, did the demonstration together. So, and he was a trooper throughout the entire thing. So was his wife, Christina. And I just started doing favors for them to gain their trust. And because, I'm not just about one deal. I'm about a relationship, a long-lasting one. So then they invited me to be one of their elite athletes honored at the Women's Sports Foundation dinner. I was prepared to, drop $1,400 as a donation to them just so I could be around all these amazing women. And then I get the phone call that they've chosen me to be one of these amazing women. So I can't talk about it too much. I start to actually get choked up, and I'm supposed to be this tough president. So I got to go. It was amazing, and I got to speak with young girls, and we did a workshop the day before, and Billie Jean King actually, once, of course, she didn't just say, hey, I remember you at 7, but without saying my name and letting her know the story, she was like, yeah, you're Helen, and, like, that was probably the best moment of my life. I'm like, Billie Jean King remembers me. Like, if I died tomorrow, just put it on my tombstone, And I just kept in contact with them. And, I purchased tickets as, to show respect to them because it's a great, great foundation, what they do. So I, brought my girlfriend along. I brought my mother along, bought their tickets and stuff. So I showed them that I was serious. And in exchange, we got to apply for a grant. And we worked really hard on it. My God, the application process, they definitely don't take it easy on you. It was like 6 hours long. And we were one of the recipients of the team grant, and it was incredible to be honored with that on top of it, just because, like, you're going up against literally Olympic medalists for this grant. So I'm proud to say the USSF received its biggest donation of $5,000. I feel bad when I say, it's from the Women's Sports Foundation in the sense that it can't go to the men, it's for the women, but all the guys, all the athletes, I mean, the guys were even cheering louder than the women were when they got news, because they know, the fact that money's just coming into the federation is a good sign.
Oh, yeah.
And they know I'm going to take care of them. Like, the biggest thing I fear is that since I'm the first female president, that's all they're going to think I care about is just the women. Like, I don't see men and women and everything like that. I just see amazing athletes that deserve to not have to work a third job to be able to pay for these trips. So, I cracked a joke with the guys. I'm like, don't worry, you're the next one. I'm working on you. So, sorry, I know that was long-winded, but I love that story, and that's how I'm spending my time doing it. And, a lot of people think you spend 2-3 hours on it a month just doing conference calls. Like, I joke with my girlfriend that it's literally another full-time job. But I'm so happy to be part of it. I'm so happy to have the chance from everybody to put their faith in me. And I just, I hope I do a good job for everyone.
Yeah, I was going to comment on that it seems like you're doing so much work for this that honestly it's more work than I imagined that it would be required. So that's wonderful that you're putting so much time, effort into making American Sumo a wonderful thing. Obviously, you're a woman in sumo, and the Women's Sports Foundation is funding it. I get this question a lot running the website. How do you feel being a woman in sumo? Have you ever felt weird about it? You said you get questions about it. And then the related question is, in my experiences in sumo, or at least American sumo, it's been incredibly embracing of all different types of people. Why do you think that might be? Or do you feel differently? Do you feel that way about it? What's your thoughts on that?
I definitely thought different. I definitely agreed with you in the sense that everyone can come together when I was just an athlete, because, it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, blue, purple, gay, straight. Second year in the dojo, you have one job, and you know what your opponent's job is to do, and that's to make that person get out of the ring or fall. Mm-hmm. So once I got into the politics side of it, to be honest, like, I still have my faith in that, and, that was one of the beauties is I've had challenges, definitely. I've had challenges as a VP. I've had challenges as a president, just because everyone thinks once you get the title that everyone's going to respect you, but that's not the truth. There are people, who don't want you as president. And, a wise person said to me, they were like, listen, like, no one tries to knock the crown off anybody who's not the king. So,
interesting. Yeah.
I expect people to watch my every move. And listen, it's not just about being a female. I'm also the youngest president by far.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the youngest president before that was like mid-30s, maybe even like probably mid-30s, I'd say, or even like early 40s. But yeah, I'm 26. Like, it's scary to hear, one of my trustees was like, dude, it's a little scary. Like, you're 26, you're a kid, but, I got in office for a reason. And it was mainly because people have seen that I had past experience with not just being involved in sumo, but being in heavily competitive judo, wrestling. So I've been around bigger organizations. I've seen how they work with their donations. And, it's like people joke that I'm like 26 going on 80. So it's like I've had my challenges for sure. And with regards to being a woman, like I love the fact that I get to do sumo. It's so awesome. Like growing up, my parents were really supportive of everything. And, my dad, like I remember watching boxing and there would be like, it would be the heavyweight title match on. And he'd be like, oh, I can't wait for next week for when the girls fight. Like there's so much, they beat the hell out of each other compared to the boys. So that's how I grew up is like, and my dad's like tough as nails. He's 83 and he can still bench press like 250 pounds. He's
nice.
The only man I've ever been afraid of. And like, so at a young age, I was put under the impression that women can do it just as good as men. If not, we have something to prove. So we go a little harder. If you've ever seen a video of like me and Janelle Hamilton going at each other, and you're talking, I wish I could go back to those days. I was middleweight back then. She was a lightweight. And, like I was the new kid fresh back and she had, I was on the 2005 world team. We'll get into that later, but, I'd been gone. And I remember like her eyebrows down, staring at me at nationals. And, I see the guys like talking to each other, laughing and joking. And like Janelle and I wanted nothing to do with each other before we fought. We became best of friends after we fought, but I was like, damn, we do go harder. So, I think it's awesome being a woman in the sport. I think it's the perfect time. I'm really happy with the way Title IX is going, with the way that sumo is starting to evolve, to know that women can put on just as good of a show and be just as athletic and strong in the sense of going against other women. Now, if you put me up against Roy Sims, like, it's not going to be a question. I'm going to fly out like a tissue.
I think most anyone would fly out like a tissue, myself included. So yeah, my nickname for him is Big Boy Roy. He's one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite people ever. But like back to the struggles. Like I've had struggles. I've had to fight my way to be respected in the federation. I've also had to fight my way to be able to go on trips. Of course, any world team I've made immediately I've gone to. But like I'll remember one instance a few years ago, there was a voting process done. Japan was offering a trip from some delegates from the United States to go. And I remember the vote had gone, like someone who, everyone was voting for themselves, of course, and someone who was up in the running to go didn't vote for themselves, they voted for me. And people realized, like, oh crap, Helen won the vote. So immediately it was, we need to do a recount, and like that was the first time I ever saw, some discrepancy and some what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, my vocabulary isn't the best at this late at night, but just discriminated against. Right.
There you go. That's when I felt it first, and I remember screaming and losing it, which was exactly the point they were trying to make. And I had to toughen up and write an email and extend my case. And in my mind, I was VP. I had placed 5th in the world, and I was very articulate, and I do very well in business, and I was young, but I deserved to be there, and I won the vote. But and then the question popped up. Well, we're not even sure if you can go, Helen. You're a female.
Ooh, that's not good.
Yeah, and that's when I really started to see red. But instead of flipping out even more, I said, no problem, I'll find out. And I had the president at the time send an email saying, can a woman be on this trip? And they said, absolutely. So, it's stuff like that. And I'm not mad at people. I'm not, because also, if you think about it, like, I was just back in the Federation for 2 years. Like, I had done well and stuff, but there was people who had been around for 10 years, and they wanted to go on the trip and stuff. And but I wanted Japan to see the future as well.
Right.
And that's what I kept saying. I was like, whether you believe it or not, I'm the future of this Federation, or at least a piece of it. But, like I said, I hold no remorse to the people. I hold no bad feelings, because as much of a learning experience as it was for me, I think it was for them too. And it taught them something, getting that email back from Japan saying, yes, we would love for a woman to come. So, I don't think anything is ever a bad choice, a bad decision, a bad way, if there's a lesson to be learned from it. And I think we all learned lessons that night. And it was great that I got to go on that trip. I learned a lot. I got to train at Nihon University. I got to meet Mr. Tanaka, the president, who happened to be my sensei's college roommate. My sensei was Yoshisada Unesca, and he is one of the pioneers of sumo in the United States. So, it was really cool to get to go on that trip and show him a photo of Yanni and I, and gain his respect. And, I wore a tie and I wore a suit to this fancy dinner. And to go up to higher ups than you need to pour them a beer first, ask them, and you pour them a beer, then you can speak to them. And I went up and I don't speak Japanese, so I just held the beer up and he nodded, and I poured the beer for him. And then I was like, I told him about my coach, and he was, all happy, and it was a very nice meeting. It was definitely warmer than what a lot of other people got. And then he turns back around and he looks at me, and he mutters out in this broken English, he goes, "You're a girl." And I was rocking a suit and a tie. They told us to come with suits and ties, and listen, I don't look good in a dress. I make no bones about it. So, and I just looked at him with this biggest smile, and I was like, "Yes, I am." And he gave me a smile back, and that's when I knew fire came inside me, because he's been the president since the International Federation started, and he was someone at the time, just like everyone else, who wasn't excited about women coming in. And then here I am at this amazing dinner with him, and he's, I may have poured his beer, but he showed me the utmost respect as well. So those are the memories, and those are the things that get me through when I've got, new members who have been in the Federation for 6 months telling me that they know everything and I know nothing, because you always get that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But those are the moments I hold on to, and all I can do is, like I said, prove myself to people. But I don't want to be known as the first female president. I don't want to be known as the youngest president. I just want to be known as one of the greatest presidents the Federation has ever seen. I laugh with Ed, because I stir up some change can't be made without making some waves, right? Mm-hmm. And I laugh with Ed, and I go, man, I'm either going to go down as the worst president or the best president ever. So it remains to be seen. But I think the first year, we definitely started off on a good note.
Based on everything I've heard about you, I've only heard positive things before this interview, and during this interview I'm getting positive impressions, of course. So I think you're well on the track of being the best president, or at least one of the better ones, so I wouldn't worry about that. A related question to that, how have your interactions been with interacting with the International Sumo Federation? What type of interaction do you have with that organization, and is it usually, a good one? Is it difficult? What do you think of that?
With what organization?
Sorry, the International Sumo Federation?
Yeah, I'm on the phone with them constantly, especially after that trip, getting to meet the people. We actually went and sat at the office. We got certified to be international referees. And, you know, I swear I'll hop right back to it, but a lot of athletes always ask me, when are you doing a Japan trip? When are you doing a Japan trip? And I try to explain to all the athletes, I go, the Japanese do it a different way than the rest of the world. So when we went on this trip, you know, they took care of us from, you know, 7 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. They were the most respectful, humble, generous people to ever work with. And now when I say 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., like, we all thought we were going on vacation. I'm telling you, the Japanese get more done in half a day than we do in a week. Like, we all got off the plane and we got these schedules of what we would be doing in the week. And I made a joke. I'm like, are we staying a month? And, like, they also don't understand sarcasm. It's not in their nature. And the woman just looks at me with a blank stare, and she's like, no, 1 week. I was like, oh my God. So, you know, since that trip, especially now that I get to put a face to them, it's nice because I am discussing things with them with regards to the World Games that are going to be in Birmingham, Alabama, the World Championships in Hawaii. And, you know, I call them when I have questions. You know, another thing I love about the Japanese culture is the people there are so straightforward in the sense, you know, not just with understanding sarcasm, but, you know, like I received an email, I want to say maybe 4 months into my first year in the presidency, and it was like, congratulations, Helen, you have been nominated for to be a vice president of the International Sumo Federation. So I didn't believe it at first. I'm like, someone's messing with me. Someone did a typo. So I called them. I was like, what? Like, I barely am running this thing yet. And so I called Naomi, and I was like, did you mean to send that to me? Like, that literally was my response. And she was like, yes, you've been nominated. Congrats. And I was like, thank you. And I got off the phone. And then I was like, wait a minute. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call. I was like, wait a minute, they didn't even ask me if I accepted the nomination. And that's when I realized I didn't have a choice. Like, they were doing it. And, you know, so, I mean, of course, even if I had the choice, I would have taken it. That was Kenna Heffernan's old position. He took on a new position with the IFS. But I thought that was a huge testament with how far things are coming along with regards to respecting me, respecting women, because yes, I believe they did have one VP prior to that, Katrina Watts, I want to say, from Australia. I believe she's been a VP of IFS. She's definitely a president of a national organization. But, you know, to be honored with that, and also to know that Kenna had held that position, because typically it does, like, I'm not that special. I'll start out by that, because typically what I really am is a continental president. And they call it the VP. But what's interesting about it is Kenna had held that position when usually that position is held by whoever the president is in the federation. So the fact that they offered it to me when I know it hadn't been offered to the past 3 or 4 presidents meant that they were taking me serious and that they saw something in me. I either was respectful enough, articulate enough, I don't know, maybe they just wanted a woman on the webpage to become an Olympic sport, but, like, in those kind of ways, like, use me all you want. You know, you don't even have to buy me dinner. Like, I'm good, just do it. Like, no problem. So, you know, I just, so many great things are happening. Sometimes I literally have to, like, pinch myself to see if, like, this all happened. Because, you know, I'm a weirdo. Like, I have dreams that I do certain things, like bill customers for my business or something, and then I wake up the next morning and I'm like, you know, I think I did it the day before, and I'm like, oh, I did that. And, like, a month later, a customer will be like, hey, like, I never got a bill from you. You know, I sleep shop. I do a lot of weird stuff. The Federation definitely has the kookiest president. I'll definitely get that title. I think everyone can agree. So sometimes I'm just like, did this really happen? But it's really sinking in now after hosting my, like, first true national meeting. I was the tournament director for nationals this year, which was cool. I think nationals went very smoothly, and I think I think I gained some respect from the athletes and other people by doing that as well. So, all good things. But the federation's great. They're awesome to talk to. I can call them if I have questions. They respect my input, and hopefully I can get a team down to Japan within the next 2 years. Like I said, the athletes are like, when can we go? And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, it's not like they say, here, of course we would try to be hospitable and like pick them up from the airport, but like after practice, like, sorry, baby, like you're on your own. Like, maybe we can go out to eat, but like, I can't cater to you for 2 weeks. Like, that's how the Japanese act when you're there. They cater to you. So I explained to the athletes, I'm like, it's not, you think it's hard getting off work to go on this trip, like you're disrupting them for 2 weeks. And even when the athletes go, no, we don't care about that, we'll just like totally keep it, low profile. I'm like, that's not how they do it. So yeah, they're an awesome organization to work with. Have they made their mistakes? Yes. Have you seen scandals in the paper? Yes. My whole thing is you've never seen anything proven. It's hard. It's hard to be a president, whether it's a national governing body, when it's the International Federation, but the fact that you're willing to go through it, Mr. Tanaka has held it for a long time, and all the people like Dr. Manami, Naomi, all these people in the office, they care about the sport, and that's why we're evolving. I think there's starting to be hundreds of people really caring.
So one question I'd feel like a lot of readers of the website would want to know is, you mentioned on your trip to Japan, you practiced at Nihon University. What was that experience like?
It was incredible. I got to practice in the same dojo. They have 2 clay dojos in their practice area. And I got to practice along with the men, which was awesome. The men and I didn't go against each other. They brought in, sorry, that's my puppy. He wanted to be on the podcast.
Nice.
He hears enough about sumo, so I'll let it happen. But, so training, it was awesome. I got to train alongside the men, which I thought was great, because I was the only female on the trip. So I'm like, oh my gosh, the guys are going to go in one training facility. I'm going to go in another one and be all alone. And it's going to, I'm nervous, and I don't want to let the federation down. And because, it's no surprise with the athletes who have gone against me, who have watched me, my style is very stand-up. I don't have good tachi-ai, but I have a throw that can shake the earth. Multiple throws, because I derive from judo. So we started doing the training, and we were doing the shuko, and I thought I was going to cry. The guy just kept going and going and going, and I was just like, I hadn't trained in probably 3 months due to an injury and a shoulder surgery, maybe even 4 or 5 months. So I was totally out of shape, and we just kept going and going. But it's the fact of the respect that I had the chance to be there, that I gave it my all, and we started doing the walkthroughs across the dojo. And I had someone come up to me, and he was like, he or she, I can't really remember, and he was like, your sumo technique is very bad. And I just looked at him and I'm dead tired. Of course I know how to do proper technique. I was taught it by one of the greatest of all time. But here I am doing 1,000 squats, and I'm like, I wanted to say to him, you're lucky I'm still standing up, man. Only reason I'm still standing up is because you guys invited me here. There's cameras, and I don't want to be an embarrassment. But I just looked at him, and I smiled, and I was like, but I got back in the zone, and I was like, okay, let's show them what you got. And I went up against the number 1 lightweight and the number 1 heavyweight. And, of course, because I was the guest, meant I got the most matches. Mm. So I was like, oh, God. So, sumo in the U.S., you'd probably do more in 1 day in Japan than you get to in 6 months in the U.S., which is a shame, and I hope to change that. But so we started doing matches, and we did it like a boxagon style that even if I lost, I did not leave the dojo.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, and we did, I'll never forget, we did 21 matches. More than I've literally done in probably 5 years even, with regards to competition. And I won, like, I want to say, like, 9 matches. It was either 9 or 10, but I'll play devil's advocate and go for 9, just so I don't seem like a liar to anybody. But, yeah, I won 9 matches, and all with, like, throws and strength and my own technique. And then the guy comes up to me, and he's like, you know, your sumo technique, not very good, but your judo sumo technique, phenomenal. And I smiled at him, and I was like, thank you. Because, you know, a lot of people don't realize either. They think, like, how the hell do people get involved in sumo? And we have some people that just, you know, some people are into anime and they're into Japanese culture and they want to try sumo. Some people just see an article or a podcast like yours, they want to give it a shot. But mainly our athletes are athletes from other sports that now come to sumo. You know, maybe they're a little older, maybe they're a little more beaten up. They, you know, like I know I can't do a judo match for 10 minutes straight. I could, but you're going to have to put me on oxygen after it. So, you know, that's where a lot of the athletes come from, is from other sports. And if you look at the medalists at the World Championships, you know, you're going to see almost on every podium either a wrestler or a judo player. So, you know, I was a little butthurt at first training there, and I'm like, they think I'm awful. But then once I threw their heavyweight up, you know, 6 feet in the air, they're like, oh, okay, not bad. But training was a blast. It was awesome. We only got to do it for 1 day, which was really disappointing. I say that now when I'm nice and healed, but after walking out of that dojo with my legs like jello, I was like, man, like, I'll come back, I promise. But, and they were so hospitable at Nihon. They brought us upstairs, and they made chanko nabe, which I love so much. And like I said, they're so polite that literally, like, these big men who train, like, all the time and train way harder than me, like, they're serving us first and not eating until, like, they literally would not eat until we all put our bowls down for good to make sure that we didn't want more.
Interesting.
And yeah, and, you know, we're the opposite. Like, we're getting awkward, and, like, we're like, man, we're all still hungry, but, like, we want these guys to eat, so we're like, please eat, and they're like, nope. So we, like, scarfed our food down, and it was cool. You just got to, like, literally lay down on your back and, like, you know, kind of just pass out there for a few minutes. So I definitely recommend to any wrestlers in the world, if you ever get the chance to go to Nihon University, to train with them, you know, show absolute respect. Be prepared to train harder than you've ever trained before. And I don't just mean that, like, in the sense of sumo. You know, my brother is a 2-time Olympian for judo, and he did a workout once with a Mongolian coach who's a bronze medalist in the Olympics. Actually beat my brother to get into the bronze medal match, and now is his coach. And he made my brother do this horrible, strong, hard workout. And my brother at the end was like, that was the hardest workout of my life. And he was like, dude, that was nothing. You should see a sumo workout. And, like, it was cool to hear that, because my brother's like, I have newfound respect for you. And I'm like, awesome, but I only did it 1 day my entire life. So don't be that happy with me. But, yeah, so for the viewers, anyone listening, you need to train harder than you've ever trained before you get there. And, you know, like I said, be respectful, be humble, and just try your best, because that's all they care about. They don't, you know, they don't care if you're the best in the world or a beginner. They want to see you put 120% into it, because that's what they're giving you.
Mm-hmm. That segues nice into my next series of questions. Is it sounds like you have you know, a brother who competes. It seems like you have a deep background in sumo. So what sparked, a brother who competes in judo. You compete in judo. You compete in sumo. What sparked your interest in sumo, and how long have you been competing in sumo yourself?
Yeah, so I started with judo. Like, it all ties in together, but I started judo on my 3rd birthday because my brother, he's 4 years older, and he was doing judo. And I got really sick of going down to class and just watching. And so I asked my dad, my 3rd birthday, he's like, what do you want for your birthday? I was like, I want to do judo. So I got on the mat really early. Usually they don't take them until they're about 5.
Okay.
And Yanni, like I said, Yoshisada Yuneska, he took me at 3 and then immediately never took anyone until 5 years old after me, because I was definitely a handful. So I trained in judo, religiously, basically. My dad bought us this, old program they used to have called the Black Belt program, and it was, thousands of dollars, and so, we didn't really have a choice. My dad's like, welcome to your destiny, guys. But we loved it, and we went to practice all the time, 5 days a week, and I saw them doing sumo after practice once, and I just looked at it, and I was like, that's really cool. They get to bump bellies. I do that for fun with my dog. I was a little kid. But I never thought anything to ask him, because all I saw were these bigger men slamming into each other. And about 4 years later, I was 11 years old, and by then I had grown a nice sized belly. I always loved Italian food, so I remember Yanni folding my gi over for me, and he smacked me on the stomach, and he was like, he just looked at me, he's like, you're fat enough to try it now. And I guess what he meant now, not to put everyone off about sumo, you don't need to be fat, but I was so young that, at 11 or something, I was 120 pounds. But I guess he had been waiting for me to give it a shot. But, you can't be a lightweight when you're 90 pounds, when the weight class is, 35-pound difference.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's what I'm praying that's what he meant by you're fat enough to try this. And I stayed after practice, and after every Wednesday practice and after every Saturday practice, he held sumo. And, I got to train with some of the best. Emmanuel Yarborough was there.
Yeah.
Yep. Rene Marte, he was a multinational time champ. He got 5th in the world a few times. There was a Hungarian wrestler, Ted. I don't remember his last name because he was just Ted. But I got to train with some. I probably trained with more legends than I could tell you now, because at the time I was 12, looking at myself in the mirror wearing what I, called a diaper for the longest time until I got smacked behind the head and was taught the proper terminology. So yeah, I practiced for about 6 months, and he's like, come to nationals. And then, back then, nationals didn't really float around. Yanni was the president, and he was old school Japanese, and he, if he didn't want to fly, it was in Jersey. And it's, he didn't, back then, you didn't parade it to try and make money or have a bunch of people watch. Nationals were held down into the small dojo of Cranford Judo Karate Center. But this one was actually at a Tech Judo in North Bergen, and I was 12 years old. I'll never forget. I had the most badass mullet a 12-year-old would have. Those were the days of Def Leppard, Uriah Heep, and I was competing, and there was 2 or 3 women in my division or something. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember going against a 45-year-old woman, and she looked really strong. And when I walked in, she was outside ripping a cigarette. And that scared me even more. And so instead of being okay, she probably doesn't have good wind, but then you start thinking crap, that's not the biggest factor in sumo. It's a huge factor, don't get me wrong. You need phenomenal stamina once you get to the worlds and stuff like that, but I'm 12. I'm this woman's triple my age. She's going to throw me right on my head. And, the referee said, "Koi," and we went, and I won the match. And then I won another match, and then I won another match, and 2005 National Championships, I was the national champ at 12 years old in the senior division. They didn't even have juniors back then. So it was really cool. I remember because Trent Sabo was, I want to say he was 21 or 22 at the time, and he was just getting really good. If he's listening, sorry, man, but that's when he really started to develop. He wasn't so young anymore. So I got to go to Japan, and I got to compete at the World Championships in 2005 at 12 years old. It was really cool. I remember the team had Kelly Knighting, had Carl Papadopoulos, Trent was on the team. I was the only female who went, and Yeah, it was really cool. I got killed first round by Japan, blasted right out of the ring. But it was so funny because after winning nationals, I was convinced I was going to win the World Championships, and I looked to Yanni, and I was always had an odd relationship with Yanni, because he knew me since I was like 2 years old. So the stories could go way longer than we have tonight. But I remember looking at him and saying, if I win the Worlds, are you going to buy me a car? And he just started laughing. And I thought he was laughing at me because I was a dumb 12-year-old who wanted a car, like as if I could drive. But he was laughing at me because he was like, there's no way this 12-year-old's going to do much work at the World Championships because it's such a different game once you get there. And he's like, sure, Helen, like, I'll buy you a car. And I was like, no, I want your car. He had a nice Jag. And he's like, I'll give you my club if you win. And I was ready, and I trained, and I was so ready for that moment and tell the guy, I said, Koi, and, excuse me for my pronunciations, I'm not the best at it, but, one thing that really threw me off at that match, and I live and die by this is the reason I lost, not because I was 12 and she was from Japan, but I never heard a referee do the chant they do to say, keep going, kids. The Nakota, Nakota, Nakota.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I had never heard that before because they didn't do that at Nationals, and I had been in one tournament. So all of a sudden, I guess, Koi, and we did grab. Like, I didn't get blasted right away. We, got it on each other's belts, and all of a sudden, the ref is going, Nakota, Nakota, Nakota. And I look over at the guy, I'm like, what the hell is he doing? And that's when I got blasted out of the ring. So whether I was 12, she was from Japan and got to train as a living, or the ref screamed something and scared me, we'll never know. I'm dying with that theory. And it's a cool fact to tell people, I was the youngest, I guess I like to break down barriers, or at least try to, because I was the youngest to ever compete at the World Championships in the seniors. They didn't, like I said, they didn't even have juniors. Looking back on it, I wish they did, because I totally think I could have medaled or won. But yeah, it's a cool fun fact that I like to tell people. And I had, back in the day, even 2005, no one had cell phones like they do today. Like, I have 70 pictures from the trip I went to the Worlds in 2015, and I have one printed out picture from a crappy digital camera that my dad took, and I'm just next to the dojo. I think I just lost, and you just see my Mawashi, you see USA, and you see my mullet, and that's the only proof I have that I was there besides the memories. So I hope I don't lose my memory too quickly and can hold on to that.
Nice. And how many competitions have you competed in since?
I've done nationals quite a few times. So I came back in 2015 for a reason. I had stopped doing sumo. I focused on judo. I had made it to the 2008 Olympic trials. Ronda Rousey was the number one seed in my weight class at that time. I was 15. She was in her prime, so it was not looking too good to make an Olympic team through judo, but it was an awesome memory to do. But I focused on that. I even moved states to go train for judo, everything. So I kind of almost forgot about sumo for a little bit. And then, unfortunately, my sensei passed away, Sensei Ineska. And it tore me up. And I still have guilt about it. He was 73. He had a rare disease that took him out. But, the guy had a six-pack at 73 years old. He would hit you so hard with his hips to throw you, whether it was in sumo or judo, that you would literally start to tear up. And I don't know why I thought it. I guess just out of love and being naive. But I thought I'd be bringing my kids down, 30 years later, and he would be there teaching. Mm-hmm. And now thinking about the math, that was not possible. But I didn't expect to lose him this young. And I guess I kind of put it away from my mind that I wasn't going to lose him, and that if I went and visited him in the hospital, and if I called him, that it became real. I thought there's no way he's going out. And he did, and I will never forget that phone call. My mom called me. I have to compose myself talking about it now, and I broke down, and I hysterically cried for hours, and I felt so guilty, and then people started saying how they got to say their goodbyes to him, and I just felt like the biggest piece of crap. And I just we never said I love you, nothing like that. Like, I guess it was unspoken with when he would draw on my head with pen or throw me around, or the one time I caught him off guard and threw him and ran around the mat like a psycho. Like, after 20 years, of course, you build a relationship with someone, but I always wanted to tell him that I loved him and I appreciated what he did for me. But I never got to, so I got word about nationals, and he didn't really have any sumo students left. And I was like, that's how I need to do it. I just need to go and fight nationals, do my best, and fight in honor of him for his legacy. So it was 10 years to the nationals that I had competed in. So I guess I was 22 when I lost him. Can't believe it's been that long. So I made some phone calls. I reached out to Trent on Facebook, and I hadn't talked to him in, probably like 8 years, 7 years. And I'm like, hey man, like, Sensei passed away, like, I want to do something for him, like, not feeling great, can I come out to nationals? And he's like, oh crap, like, yeah, let's do it. So I went out to nationals, and that's when I met Janelle staring down at me, and I was like, I haven't been in a dojo in 10 years. I kept practicing judo, but I had not had a sumo practice at all in 10 years. The last time I was on the dojo was in 2005 in Osaka at the Worlds. So I was like, what am I doing here? Like, crap. And I was like, if I can just pull a medal, like, I just need to pull a medal and he'll be proud of me. And somehow I won the whole thing, and they were like, congrats, you're going to Japan. And I was like, crap. Like, like, damn it, Yanni, like, you're messing with me now. I just wanted to give you a medal out of respect. And, but then I found out that it was back in Osaka, and I would be back in the same dojo that I was 10 years before. And I just, I got this feeling, the same kind of feeling I'm getting now. It's like kind of like chills, but I also feel like I'm getting gripped behind the neck a little by him. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I was on the 2015 World team, and that's where I had some good matches. I have one clip of it. I asked someone to film all my matches, and I had the best throw I've ever had in my life. Like, men were coming up to me, officials, everything, and they were like, that's one of the nicest throws we've ever seen in the history of sumo, but definitely the nicest throw of the tournament. And I was like, tell me you have that on film. And they were like, nope, but we got your other less flashy one. I was like, damn it. But yeah, I got 5th in the world, which blew my mind. And I had so much fun. And after that, I just jumped like both feet into it, like right into the pool. And I, put in a bid for nationals the very next year. I was like, let's bring it back to Jersey. And I just kept doing stuff until I felt fulfilled, and in my own selfish reasons, till I didn't feel bad about what happened and not saying goodbye. And I just kept trying to do more and more. And then all of a sudden they're like, do you want to be VP? And I was like, crap, like, I'm getting even more into it. And I was like, let's do it. And no one even ran against me, and that sparked a fire. Like, people, like, if you saw the voting process last year, like, there was like 5 nominees for each position. And there was nominees for president and secretary that year, but when I came up, they were like, does anyone want to run against Helen? And everyone was like, no. And the last person to do that in the federation was Yanni himself. So I was like, you keep messing with me, man. You're sending me signs, so like, let's do it. And then the rest is kind of history. I became the VP after that, and then I wanted more because he was president. I had to be president. Then he was VP international. Then I wanted that. But ever since becoming president, I haven't competed on the sense of accepting a world team. Mm-hmm. I competed last year at nationals just because the showing of girls was good, but it wasn't great, and I wanted to give the girls some more matches, and my own selfish way that I don't tell people. I heard one of the girls who came from another very rigorous sport who was strong. I won't say what sport because it kind of gives it away, but she was like, it's not even like I have competition here. And I was just like, oh no. I was like, give me that Moashi. So I competed. I won the open weight division last year. I didn't compete in my respective division, because I think I was running the table. Or this year I did not compete. I have a slip disc in my neck, in my back. I literally pretty much am walking with a cane right now. I'm getting better every day.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able. I saw your cool article about, like, you don't have to compete to be president, but I don't see why she won't come back. And I was like, damn it, I can't compete. And that's one of the hard parts about being a young president is people tell me all the time, they're like, you still can compete. And I'm thinking the bigger picture, right?
Oh, yeah.
Say I do compete, say I make the world team, say I, which is, I have a good chance. Like I've only lost one match on U.S. soil ever, and that was to Jasmine Jones, and she was a heavyweight at the time, weighing around like 350 or something. She lost like 70 pounds. She looks phenomenal. She's back in sumo. I can't wait to see what she does. But I had beaten her. She beat me. No, excuse me. I should say I've lost 2 matches because we did a round robin. But in my respective weight class, I've never been beaten. So it's hard because I'm still young, and I'm like, am I in my prime? Like I didn't even step in a dojo. I got 5th in the world. It's like, am I missing out on a world medal? And everyone's like, just do both. And I'm like, could you imagine the headlines? Like, we're trying to become an Olympic event. And then all of a sudden, a president of the national governing body and the VP of the whole organization, or one of the VPs, I should say, of the whole organization, just placed at Worlds. Like, if that doesn't scream corruption, I don't know what does. But I thought it was more important to bring this federation to the next level and kind of put my own athletic career aside. And there's some days that I wake up and I'm like, I made the right decision. Like when I get the check, or Tanaka gives me a bow of respect, or an athlete emails me and says, hey, great job. But sometimes when I get the, being hated on and people give me lip and stuff, I'm like, oh, I just want to get in the dojo and smack you silly. Like, a lot of people don't realize what I'm giving up to do it. And some people disagree with me. Some say, well, there's always going to be someone to do the job. But, and nothing but respect to the past presidents. I even texted Tom Zabel, who's the past president, and I said to him, I'm like, listen, man, like, when I was your VP, I'm so sorry if I gave you any crap. Because now that I see it, like, I'm sorry. And he was like, yeah, you weren't that bad. Like, welcome to the club. So no disrespect. Anyone who's willing to take their time out to even take the title, get back on emails, I have the utmost respect for, and every single person that comes in this federation should. But I think the federation was getting tired. The same few people were being president terms after terms after terms. And, like, I don't blame them, but, like, I'm not going to be as excited and work as hard 20 years from now being on my 5th presidency. You just, no one has that in them. So, people say, oh, there's always a job, someone will do it, but will they do it like it should be done? Will they do it like their first time they ever became president? And, it's something I fight back and forth in my head, as you can see, because I just had a little argument with myself on your podcast. But, it's all things that at the end of the day are going to be worth it. So I hope to maybe, the joke is I'm going to make this sport an Olympic sport, and the second it becomes an Olympic sport, I'm coming out of retirement. Whoever is around better train really hard, because, I missed being an Olympian by, a little bit in the past, and, I'm like the black sheep of the family. I could save like 12 children from a burning bus, but my brother's the 2-time Olympian. So if I have a chance to become an Olympian, you'll definitely, I'll resign that day, say I did my job. I'll see you guys all in the dojo to see who makes the team.
Yeah, everyone I talk to, there seems to be a buzz of energy about American Sumo at the moment. Expecting it to, almost like jump the fence, or expecting it to reach that next level. So whatever you're doing, I think you're doing well. People seem incredibly excited about what the future holds for American Sumo.
I appreciate that, yeah.
Yeah.
It gives me anxiety at the same time, but I really appreciate it. And, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Do you still train in sumo on a regular basis?
I do not, especially now being injured.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But even, that's like half an excuse, to be honest. We don't have regular practices since Yanni passed away, Sensei passed away. We don't have regular practices down in Cranford now. Ed does run regular practices in Madison. He runs them. He has Mark Lawrence there, a few other guys. So, I got my butt back into Mawashi when it was time to do a demonstration because I'm like, I got to get back in it. But honestly, like between running the federation, I'm a small business owner. I also have another full-time job doing sales for a printing company. So, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to myself to train. And it definitely really shows because if I competed now, by a landslide, I'd be a heavyweight. So, so I hope to get back to training one day. Right now I'm hoping just to be able to walk in 6 months.
Well,
but like I said, I'm getting better little by little, and hopefully I can pop back up. But, the thing that sparks my fire so much is, like, I can teach the men, but there's a certain – and a lot of the U.S. men have great respect for me with regards to my knowledge. But, I've always found it's hard to – it's not hard to teach someone who's bigger than you and who can beat you, but you're never going to get the same results than if you could beat them. Mm-hmm. And, Ed is awesome. Mark's awesome. They listen to what I have to say. They know my results. They know I have good technique in throws, so they listen to me. But, at the end of the day, if Ed and I get into the dojo, he's gonna crush me. Maybe not 5 or 6 years ago. I used to make fun of him, but like that guy has gotten 50 times better in the past year. His tachi is incredible. So I think I'll get more back in the dojo once some more women around my area get involved. Because I love working with the girls, because there's the respect that they know I can crush them, so I can teach them a little easier. And Nikki Unesca, Yanni's son, was actually a world team member. I think he was on 1 or 2 teams. He was a 1980 Olympian for judo. So he's been having the kids at judo class do some sumo. They don't put the mawashis on, but they do the pushing and working on their balance for judo, but he's considering, because he has one of the dojos, and I've been trying to get it from him for years. I'm like, just let me buy it from you. He's like, I'm going to hold on to it, like, just in case. And I think that time is coming around where he's going to be doing some practices with kids, and when that happens, I'll jump right back in there, because, I get more enjoyment out of teaching kids than I do out of anything, out of getting a check, out of building this federation, like just playing with kids in whether it be a wrestling coach position, judo coach, sumo. I love working with kids. They're honest, brutally honest. They say what's on their mind. They don't, hit you up for money more than $5 at a time. They're the best. So I'll definitely get back in the ring for sure when he starts getting some practices. Even if I have my cane, I'll smack the kids with it.
Nice. I think I have 2 more questions for you. The next one is about the United States Sumo Federation. So what would you say to listeners who might be interested in joining the Federation? What would be some reasons to join the Federation, and what do you get from being a member of the United States Sumo Federation?
Yeah. So first thing I would say is do it. First of all, our membership is $20. It's going to be going up to a whole $25 to be a member for a year. So that's reason number one. It's cost effective as opposed to joining another organization. A lot of them are like $60, $70, $80, and you're paying $90 a month. Get in while we're still small and cheap. But, more importantly is it's a sport for everybody. It's a sport for, like I said, heavier people that may not feel comfortable in the pool, may not feel comfortable running 2 miles to get in shape. Like, you're going to sweat. You're going to burn calories. You're going to learn techniques. You're going to learn respect. You're going to learn loyalty. Because, you can't learn respect more than literally slamming a man or a woman down on their face and then at practice putting your hand out to pick them back up. Mm-hmm. Or vice versa. So, it's a sport like no other. And that's another cool thing. Like, we're one of the oldest sports in the entire world. So it's like, after all these thousands of years, like, we're doing something right to still be around. Like, we've almost been around as long as dinosaurs. That's a joke, obviously, for people listening. But, like, we're not extinct, so we're doing something right. But also, it's the friendships and the compatibility. Like, it's what you said before. You know, maybe not on the politics side as much, but when it comes to the athletes, like, I stepped in the unofficial, I have to say, like, after party at the US Nationals, and immediately I'm like, I shouldn't be here. I run the federation, but I had to pop in, and if you just look around that room, you see black people, you see white people, you see straight people, you see gay people, you see people that are 4 feet tall, you see people that are 6'5", you see people that are 90 pounds, you see people that are 450, and you see people that, you know, aren't funny, and you see people that are hilarious, but everyone was there just having a good time, like playing Uno and, you know, laughing and having a good time, and like, there's no clickiness in this sport, and that's one of the most beautiful things. So it's for people, you know, I don't want to say it's just for people who maybe don't have a place in the world. Everyone does, but like, we're definitely a safe zone for people too. You know, I want to once I get the numbers up for athletes, like, I want to work on, you know, just for men and women athletes, I want to work on, you know, starting a division for the disabled. You know,
okay. Mm-hmm.
You see wrestlers with no arms, no legs, no limbs, wrestling like crazy. You see, you know, you see kids with autism. Like, judo is the #1 sport according to the University of Sports Medicine. It's great for autism. So, and judo is very compatible along with sumo. So, you know, it's literally for everyone. Like, that's one promise I can give to anybody, whoever is interested. Unless you do steroids, unless you embarrass the federation, unless you do something ill-willed to another athlete, you are always welcome in this federation. And they're the people that make this federation great. You know, I would just say, get in the federation, give it a shot, go to one practice. If you don't like it, there's something wrong with you, and I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. It's like people who don't eat sushi, just get away. But if you love it, you're going to be opened with welcome arms. You're going to be taught from, you know, world medalists. You're going to be taught from people who care about it, and you know, we're one huge dysfunctional family, is how I would sum it all up.
Nice, I like that. Very last question is a two-part question. First off, do you watch Japanese professional sumo? And if so, do you have a favorite rikishi?
Yeah, so I do watch it when I get a chance. A lot of the times I'm catching up on it via YouTube. But I really like Sho, Hakuo Sho.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's just incredible. First of all, I think his physique is phenomenal. You know, I like to, it's so weird because I'll be sitting on a bus and people will see me literally like staring at what they think are the asses of men. They don't realize it's sumo wrestlers in their mawashi, but like, I love looking at their legs. They're like more defined than runners and cyclists. It's insane. So that's what, you know, attracted me to watching him first was he's ripped, you know, he's got the way of life belly to him, but like his arms are big, and I think he has more titles, I'm pretty sure, than anybody else. I may be mistaken, but I know he had the second longest winning streak in sumo history.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you know what it is? It's I think you possibly quote me on this, fact check me, but I think he has the most undefeated tournament championships.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're like 14 or 50. I think it's 14, and it's ridiculous. So, as you can tell, I like winners. I try to be a winner. So, you know, I have to go with him. Of course, Akibono's awesome. He's in the world book, the world records book, and you know, he's just a badass as well. But I'd have to say Sho for sure is my favorite. I love watching, you know, of him. And I also really enjoy watching Biamba. I know he's not in the stables, but I mean, my God, I think he had 8 world titles in a row, and then he got silver the year I was there, and it was gut wrenching to watch him lose. But yeah, show for sure, definitely. But they're all amazing and extremely athletic, and it's really annoying to hear about no disrespect to sports that are getting into the Olympics, but I just got word for Paris, the front runner is breakdancing to get
Seriously?
into the Olympics.
No way, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, and I have to be politically correct on here because I'm speaking as president, but if you called me up after and spoke to me as not an official of a sport, I'd talk to you a little differently, but listen, can I spin on my head? Only if I'm trying to dodge a throw, no, but skateboarding, power walking, all these sports are making the Olympics because they're so concerned with viewers.
Oh yeah.
And keeping their numbers up that I feel like they're losing the sanctity of what it means to be an Olympic sport. And I don't think they realize how crazy popular it would be, so it's really frustrating to hear that breakdancing will be an Olympic sport before sumo wrestling. But, learning that, and I'll finish it up with this. I know you didn't even ask me about it. I'm sorry, I like to ramble.
No, you're good. Your answers have been wonderful, so talk as much as you want.
But, learning about that is, it helped me in the sense of, it was a huge long shot for us to be, because first of all, France doesn't participate. But now I'm learning the timing of how it goes down, because here I am being me and Billie Jean King had a conversation about it, and she's like, go to the Paris committee, try to get them to put it in to be the different country that puts in a sport that's not big in their country, to be different and go down in history. And I'm like, great idea. And, 6 months later, I'm like, oh crap, I should have done that 5 years ago. So some good came of it, because now I'm learning the cycle of when you really have to get your ass in gear. I'm in a high gear right now, but I gotta wrench it up, because they're gonna decide for LA. If I do my math correctly, 2022 is when they're gonna put forth what they think should be in the Olympics. So, people think the Olympic Games in LA aren't until 2028. You think you have way more time than that, but seriously, anyone listening, anyone interested in the sport, anyone who's in the sport, start writing to people now, start getting contacts, ask me. I have to find the contacts, but I'm sure I can do it. We need to work now, because we have 3 years before the United States will even consider us, and that's not a lot of time. So I'm praying that we are the biggest upset in U.S. history and become, the U.S. is the one to pull it off to become in the Olympic Games in 2028.
That would be nice. Well, I think that's all the questions I had for you. Is there anything else that you think I forgot to mention, or anything else you want to mention?
No, just a thank you to you. You run an awesome site. I thank you for the time you take out to interview people, to write articles. I always love reading anything you write. I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate everyone who listened to me babble on this entire time. I hope your editing skills are good. And thank you for letting me serve as your president. And I hope to bring it to where everyone deserves.
Oh yeah, and thank you for taking the time to do this interview. I really appreciate it, and thank you for everything you do for American Sumo. I don't think a lot of listeners realize how much time is involved to just make this work. So thank you for everything that you do too.
Absolutely, I can't do it alone. I thank my officers and trustees, and any of the athletes that put extra time in. It's definitely a group effort. But so thank you for that. But kudos to all of them as well.
And that's all for the interview with Helen Delpopolo. Once again, please hit the subscribe button on this video. I don't have anything to sell, so please just subscribe and like. Also, to be sure to check out NorthAmericanSumo.com if you're not familiar with our website. It has tons more content separate from our YouTube page. And also, please check out the United States Sumo Federation website. It would be a wonderful thing if you could check out the website, maybe even become a member. That website is ussumo.org. So it is ussumo.org. And on that page, you can find some information about activities of sumo in North America. And you can also find out how to be a member. It's definitely something that everyone who's interested in sumo should do. So once again, thank you for listening to this interview. And until next week, maybe 2 weeks from now, whenever another interview pops up, I hope you listen to that one too. Thank you for listening.